about a year ago now, the Minister of Education received a report on school busing, and that was from Deloitte. Those consultants were paid $75,000 from taxpayers to carry out a review of the busing system in Newfoundland and Labrador. And you'll recall, because I have called in several times about this, during the 2011 general election campaign, many of my constituents expressed concerns about the situation with busing, particularly those who live on streets off of Thorburn Road and in that area of my district. And since then, I've spoken to lots of other people. I know that since Paul Lane joined the Liberal caucus, he and I've talked at length about problems in his own district in the Southlands and so on when it comes to busing. So we successfully petitioned the government, the PC government, back in 2012, I believe it was, to carry out this review of busing. But unfortunately, this $75,000 review that was commissioned by the Minister of Education was then promptly shelved last year, and we haven't heard much at all. I haven't heard a word really from the Minister of Education about what they're going to do, if anything. And the problems in busing remain, and we have often talked about the 1.6 kilometre rule. We've suggested all sorts of changes to that, including having a graduated system that would allow for children in younger grades in lower grades to get the busing that they need, particularly when the weather is poor, because it's not always July 2014 in this province. January wasn't a whole long time ago, and people remember just how bad the weather was. And this 1.6 kilometre rule is really arbitrary. It's not like a lot of things that government does. It's not like a lot of policies that we have on the books that's based on science or something in particular. It's arbitrary. There's nothing to say is right or wrong except for the Minister of Education. So I mean, if there was really no intention of acting on parents' concerns around busing, I don't know why the minister opted to waste $75,000 on another report that's going to be on the shelf, because by and large, as far as I see it from being the education critic now since 2011, this is part of a pattern with this government. Pretending or seeming to listen to people's concerns, spending a backload of money on reports, then putting them on the shelf and not acting on them, or using this as some sort of delay tactic to just draw things out. And it's really frustrating for average people who take part in campaigns, try to help out with petitions and those sorts of things, see it being presented in the House Assembly, have their hopes raised up, because we're not talking about somebody's possessions or something like that. We're talking about their kids and the hardship that they have to endure in the depth of winter most of the time, trying to get back and forth to school, right?
Well, I mean, even if you have a child that doesn't rely on the bus, these are children in our community. Could be friends or cousins or loved ones of you who have to walk down these icy, non-existent sidewalks that the bus drives right past them as opposed to picks them up and gets them to their destination safely. This is a community issue. Is it Liberal policy to do away with the 1.6 kilometre, the 1 mile rule, and bring in a much more modern, I think, realistic policy so far as busing?
Well, we're certainly committed to having a good look at all of our busing. A lot of what we're doing now doesn't make any sense.
That's not very good, though, Dale, though, is it? I mean, it's the same thing you condemn the PC candidates for saying, we're going to have a look at reinstituting the Family Violence Prevention Court. All these things where we were going to have a good look at it. I mean, so what? We assume people are going to have a good look at policies that affect our community. Is it a Liberal policy to do away with the arbitrary 1.6 kilometres or not?
Well, I think we have certainly had enough MHA speaking on it in the House Assembly. Can I say if it's going to be in the platform or not? I can't say that because I'm not part of that process, but I certainly would like to see it there. I think one of the things we need to look at is how we're spending our money on busing. I spoke to some folks earlier this summer who said that in their community, I won't name it, it's not on the Northeast Avalon, we've got 70-odd passenger buses with very few school children riding them. We've got, buses passing each other with kids on them going in different directions to the same school. A lot of things that don't make any sense. It seems like we're spending a whole lot of money on unnecessary busing where we could use smaller vehicles or minivans. So I don't think there's a simple solution to all of the busing problems that we have. I'm committed to changing the 1.6 kilometer rule. I have been since I got elected. Like I said, Paul Lane has also stood up in the House of Assembly and talked about this. I know that our leader's well apprised of the problem.
Paul was also part of a government and said nothing about it as a PC member, so I will take that particular stance from an MHA with a grain of salt, with all due respect.
Well, absolutely. Well, I remain committed to seeing the regulation change. There's no question about that. And if I find myself in the House of Assembly on a different side of the House, it'll be something that I'll certainly be putting front and center, because I believe it has to be changed. As I've said time and again, it's putting families and kids through undue hardship in the winter. And again, I think we really have to look at we don't need to pay a consultant $75,000 or more or less to even enact any of these changes. What we really need to do is have a good look at how we're spending our busing funds, and to try and do it more efficiently. Lots of things have changed in Newfoundland and Labrador schooling over the past 20 years. We've had massive growth on the Northeast Avalon. We've had growth in a lot of areas of the province, and we've had declining populations in others. We need to make sure that the system adapts to all of those changes, and I think that there are efficiencies that can be found, and I think that can be put towards things like the 1.6 kilometer, changing the 1.6 kilometer rule, or like I said, bring in a graduated system that would allow for children in the lower grades, younger kids, to have busing where there isn't right now. So
and there's even drop-off issues with the busing too. That are, I would suggest that there's some common sense available here that could kind of rule the day when it comes to the busing policy, whether it be part of an official platform or not. Dale, I do have to get off to the break. It's an important issue. I agree with you in large part on how important it is to change this arbitrary distance from school busing regulation. And we haven't even talked about the drop-off issues, which are, I would suggest, equally important, because we have professional working moms and dads who need some accommodation for the drop-off of the kids that is not being done because there's a regulation prohibits it. I appreciate your time this morning, Dale. Anytime the mood strikes, you call again.
Thank you very much for your time.
Pleasure.
Have a good day. Bye-bye.
You too. Bye-bye.